Let's take a look at about line 702 when we have the entry of Grendel. You see where it says, then out of the night came the shadow stalker, stealthy and swift. Okay, we find that all of these things are named one thing or another. So he's the lone walker, he's the shadow stalker, just as Beowulf is sometimes Beowulf the Gate, sometimes he is the kinsman of Hygelac or whatever. So we have to watch and make sure we understand who they're talking about. But at any rate, Grendel has come into the hall, and let's jump down to 710. In off the moors, down through the mist bands, God-cursed Grendel came greedily loping. The bane of the race of men roamed forth, hunting for a prey in the high hall. Okay, we understand that this is translated from the original Old English. It wasn't even Middle English, it was Old English, and so it would have sounded something like Wait we gardena in gerdagum thrim saninga, which is actually English, a very early form of English, and this has been translated for us into our modern dialect. But it maintains some of the characteristics of the ancient in that very often it uses alliteration, words beginning with the same sound. Okay, hunting for a prey in the high hall. There's an example of that alliteration. Under the cloud murk, he moved toward it until it shone above him. A sheer keep of fortified gold. Well, the listeners of this tale are being told what a wonderful palace, what a wonderful mead hall their ancestor had. It's fortified gold. Okay, drop down to line 720. Spurned and joyless, he journeying on ahead and arrived at the bawn. The iron braced door turned on its hinge when his hands touched it. Then his rage boiled over. He ripped open the mouth of the building, maddening for blood, pacing the length of the patterned floor. Okay, it's a creature so powerful it rips the door off its hinges. Let's go over to where Beowulf actually meets him. On the next page, on line 736, we find Beowulf waiting. Mighty and canny, Hygelac's kinsman, Beowulf, was keenly watching for the first move the monster would make. Nor did the creature keep him waiting, but struck suddenly and started in. He grabbed and mauled a man on his bench, bit into his bone lappings, into his joints, bolted down his blood, and gorged on him in lumps, leaving the body utterly lifeless, eaten up. All right. Then he meets Beowulf. Venturing closer, his talon was raised to attack Beowulf, where he lay on the bed. He was bearing in with open claw when the alert heroes come back, and Armlac forestalled him utterly. The captain of evil, that would be Grendel, discovered himself in a hand grip harder than anything he had ever encountered in any man on the face of the earth. And we know where handshakes come from, don't we? Warriors who met and were not going to attack one another would lay down their sword. So you hand grip with a sword hand. You lay down your sword and then grip the hand of the warrior that you are greeting. Okay, so left-handed people were thought to be evil, sinister, sinistra, because they could attack you with the left hand, and they were backstabbers. Okay, so Beowulf is gripping the hand of the monster. In a hand grip harder than anything he had ever encountered in any man on the face of the earth. Every bone in his body quailed and recoiled, but he could not escape. He was desperate to flee to his den and hide with the devil's litter, for in all his days he had never been clamped or cornered like this. Then Hygelac's trusty retainer recalled his bedtime speech, how he had boasted, sprang to his feet and got a firm hold. Fingers were bursting, the monster backtracking, the man overpowering. The dread of the land was desperate to escape, to take a roundabout road and flee to his lair in the fens, but he can't get loose from Beowulf's grip. And as we find out, Beowulf rips the arm off this creature, and the arm is later displayed over the doorway of the castle. This is the first of the tests that Beowulf encounters as a hero. The next test comes when Grendel's mother comes, Grendel's dam, as she's called, comes looking for the person who murdered her son. Grendel goes off dripping blood and goes home and tells his mother about it, and she comes and then dies, and she comes out of their underwater home. He lives under a mere, under a lake, some cavern down there. And she comes, and she's more powerful than her son, and she attacks Harriet Hall. And Beowulf must track her to her lair, down underwater, past all of the underwater, all of the sea creatures, down to where this witch dame lives. And there, with all of the treasure that he discovers underwater, the giant swords of the ancients, for example, he and the witch dame meet in mortal combat. Then, later, much later, Beowulf himself becomes the king of the land. He becomes an old man, an old warrior. Time to sit by the fire himself and listen to stories and see the younger warriors protect the land. But there's one final challenge that comes in the third part of Beowulf, when the great flying worm, as it's called, the monstrous dragon, attacks Harriet Hall, and old Beowulf and his thanes must rise themselves once again and go into battle against this thing. It's a very good story.